morning, everyone. Well, I can remember, even as a child, running through the woods near the home I grew up in and having that occasional encounter with a random low-hanging branch and thinking to myself, even as a kid, it's a wonder I haven't had my eye poked out. I got to be more careful. But I've always had good health. Then one day in the summer of 2001, I was surprised by a sudden loss of vision as I was standing in the family room looking across and realizing things weren't looking very clearly. I covered one eye and saw fine, and I covered the other eye and just saw what looked like in the old days when the TV broadcasters would sign off for the night and that screen would just go snowy. That's all that was there. That happened once, twice, 3, 4 times, and then finally I thought, well, I better tell Leanne. A pituitary tumor was making contact with my optic nerve, and it had been probably growing slowly for over 20 years, they told me, and surgery to reduce its size was successful, and I thought I would put that whole episode behind me. That was 2001. Then fast forward 8 years, I found out in a routine checkup, vision screening, that the tumor had regrown. It turns out that only 15% of people who have a pituitary tumor experience a regrowth, so I was in that small segment. But mine had regrown, was interfering with my optic nerve again, and so I prepared myself for another surgery mentally and thought, well, based on the success of the first one, I was confident. But it's a risky procedure. The optic nerve, the carotid arteries that service the brain, and the pituitary tumor itself form the boundaries of that very small space right in the middle of your head. But little did I know what God was preparing for me. First, He showed me He was in complete control. My surgery was scheduled for a day in September, and I was there, I was sedated, I was ready to go. I was probably minutes from being rolled into the operating room, and then they came in and announced my surgery was canceled. As it turned out, the wife of one of the 2 surgeons who would be performing the procedure had just been rolled into emergency downstairs at the hospital and was being taken right to emergency surgery for what would turn out to be a removal of her appendix. And even at that moment, I saw that in God's perfect timing, with just minutes difference, He had spared me from what could have been a dangerous interruption in my own procedure. 3 weeks later, my surgery took place. I was awake for a little while in recovery, and the resident neurosurgeon was there asking me questions and testing my vision, among other things, and she would ask me, well, if I put my hand over this eye, what can you see? I saw, okay. If I put my hand over your other eye, what do you see? And I couldn't see anything. It was just black. Before surgery, my vision was fine. I laid down on that operating table, I could see perfectly. And in fact, God had preserved my vision over those intervening several years as that tumor grew larger and larger and started to stretch my optic nerve over the top of it. He preserved my sight in a very normal way. But then that risk-filled surgery left me blind in my right eye. And still hazy coming out of the surgical anesthesia, I wasn't even processing some of the things, the issues that would trouble me later, like, would I still be able to drive? Would I still be able to work on a computer screen? Would I recover what I'd lost? And maybe the worst of all, what if something happens to the other eye? But then the words of Psalm 16:8, which I had discovered recently, came to me. I have kept the Lord continually before me. Because He is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. But how do I pray? I want it all. I want it all back. And I want everything to be just like it used to be. But I have to realize that my brokenness has positioned me to learn to trust God in a new way. God's plan included this loss of capacity for his purpose, even though to me it seems so negative. And then I hear him say, "O ye of little faith, trust me." And even though I wanted to exercise more faith, it's hard to grow to trust God more when everything is good. It's never easy to, when the wind is at your back and when your life has some degree of balance, it's difficult to really reach out and trust God more. And I need this testing. And yet, do I really want to say that to God? I need testing. But this whole episode of my life is going to be a test of faith for me. God is taking me through this for my good. Something that I thought I can't live without has been removed. But it's not about my strength and ability. In fact, my strength and ability only serves to mask the power of God in my life. You remember Paul prayed, "Take this thorn of the flesh away from me, God." And what did God respond? He said, "My grace is sufficient for you, and my strength is made perfect in your weakness." But I might protest, what if this is just my random fate? The psalmist says, "Who can understand the errors of God?" Rhetorical. There's no mistake. Just a question of ownership. I don't mourn the eye or my lost sight as though it was something that was stolen from me. The eye was always God's to do with as he pleased. Everything I have was given to me from him. And so what should I pray? The feeling is somewhere between hanging on and letting go. Either shouting to God, "Do you see what's become of me?" Or telling God, "I know that you count the hairs on my head, and so I know you're aware of every nuance of my current experience. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." And what do I say about my experience? The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So what is this life really about? Praying for God to give me what I need? Or is there much more just beyond where I stand today? I don't want to settle for less. If I'm at a point in my life where I could reach out and touch the hand of God and learn to trust him more. He is calling me through my anxiety and uncertainty to experience his presence in a new way. His sovereign authority has put me at this fork in the road. I must choose once again, as we all find ourselves having to choose periodically. Do I want more of God? And if I want more of God, am I willing to have more of God at the expense of everything else? Because I know that I will find him when I seek him with my whole heart. So be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all you who trust him. Because the angel of the Lord encamps about those who fear him and delivers them. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts in him. And blessed am I because of all of you who have encouraged and prayed for me. Thank you.